This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my other host. Last game of the regular season, we have wrapped up the AFC North, back-to-back champions. Never in doubt, shaky start. We'll get into it, and we'll talk a little bit about the playoff matchups. At the time of this recording, the Chargers are still playing the Raiders, so we don't know who exactly will play yet, but we're going to dive into this game first. But it's nice to sneak in the back door and become the AFC North champions yet again.
Absolutely, Brandon. So we took care of business. That's what we had to do, and that's what we did. So what can I say? We can relax now, watch other teams play, and we're gonna see who we're gonna play. Chargers
or Pittsburgh. Yeah. So like I said, we'll get into that later on in the episode, but solid start, I would say, to this game. I really wasn't too hyped up because the Browns are just that bad. Bailey Zappi played, and then Dorian Thompson played for a little bit, and then Zappi went back out there. But we were kind of just all over him. The defense looks very good. And, a big game from Bateman, Andrews, all our playmakers, Lamar and Derek. So
yeah,
it's a solid performance.
Can't agree more. I don't even know what the spread was, like 20. I think the spread was in our favor. So, and we were expected to win, and we did win. And whether they put their second, third, or fourth quarterback in, we did what we needed to do, Brandon. We dominated. We got our defense did what they needed to do, and got to the quarterback. No matter who they put in, we dominated.
Yeah, it's funny because the two largest spreads this year both involved us. The first was the Giants, I think they said, and then I think this game outdid that spread of that Giants game. So it's kind of funny how Baltimore, that's how dominant we are against very, very poor teams. But I think the tone setter of this game was the Nate Wiggins pick six right from the jump. There was a lot of missed opportunities on the first drive. Lamar overthrew Andrews just a tad, and then Zay Flowers dropped a third down catch.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, missed opportunities there. And then that pick six. And after that pick six, you kind of knew this was going to be wrapped up because it was just such a depleter for, a young quarterback trying to prove something in this environment. It was kind of a done deal, and no better guy to get his first interception and that be a pick six than Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, I can't lie. In the beginning of the game, we looked like we were coming out flat for some reason. I don't know why. This was an important game for the division. And when Nate did that, it was just, I think it put a smile on everybody's face because we were just waiting for him to get his first interception, Brandon.
Yeah.
And he did. And once he did that, we knew, okay, now we're going to start to play. The defense came through. Now Lamar's got to do his thing.
Yeah. I think, Derrick Henry had a silent first half, and then he exploded in the second half. That's where you sort of like are a little bit on the fence when it comes to the playoffs because a whole half of Derrick not being involved, this is a better team, and you have to throw the ball to get back into the game, you can't really use Derrick at that point. Mm-hmm. So I would prefer to see him utilize more from the jump and not wait so long, especially now we're in the playoffs. And I didn't like how they handled the end of the half. Other than that, I just really can't complain. You cross your fingers with Zay Flowers. Doesn't look like he's going to play, but our playmakers made plays, and Bateman now's his time to come up big as he has been all year. But now we're really looking to him heading into next week.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know what? King Henry's birthday was that game, and we're waiting for him to explode. And we were waiting in the first half, and nothing was going on with him, like you said. But in the second half, of course, he did his thing. And I'm gonna jump right in here, Brandon, and just say, you know, as good as this win was, and knowing that Cleveland, as bad as they were, coming in there, Todd Monken, I gotta just say, we're looking at this game. I'm looking at this game. I'll speak for myself instead of for Brandon. I'm looking at this game for how Todd Monken is going to call this game and looking into going into the playoffs, on a high. And I gotta tell you, I was a little disappointed, Brandon, his play calling in the first half. I mean, he had opportunities on third downs and fourth downs to utilize Henry, and he did not. So what I'm saying is, as we go further into the playoffs or, into the wild card even, I want to see the Todd Monken that I want to see. And all year long, okay, this is the last game of the regular season. And all I'm going to say is all year long, I want Todd Monken to be consistent. And I told Brandon as we were watching the game, I want him to be consistent. I'm not going to give him a pass because of last year. And he has to utilize the weapons that he has. And I got to see the play calling, that we're used to seeing for Ravens ball.
So he does utilize the weapons. I think when you say weapons, you're really referring to the running back situation.
Running backs,
So,
yeah.
I the only bad thing I can say this game was it was a 3rd and 1, and I forget which play call they called. Then it was a 4th and 1, and Lamar fakes the handoff or something like that, and he's going to the outside. He makes a cut. I'm thinking he's just gonna run forward, take the contact, fight for the 1 yard, and then he flips it to Henry out of his reach. I didn't like that at all. You have 2 chances to give it to Henry, who's stopping Derek for 1 yard 2 times in a row. You know?
I'm going to say most
Wait. I was none. And
okay.
that and the second one is I didn't like how they handled the end of the half. I felt like they didn't have a direction with what they wanted to do. It's 2 minutes, 30-something seconds left, and they don't call a timeout. They let it trickle down to the 2-minute warning. When you have 2 timeouts and you can utilize the 2-minute warning as an extra timeout, so really 3. So they don't blow the timeout at all to save an extra 30 seconds before the 2-minute half. They get the ball. We're pinned back. The first play's a handoff. So I'm like, okay, they're going to run the clock out. Then they pass it to Mark Andrews and get a first down, and now they're trying to get in field goal range when the clock is already against you because you let it trickle down. So I didn't like that at all. It's like you got to figure out, do we want to actually be aggressive here or not? And, if you're going to be aggressive, don't let the clock go against you, Use up every second possible to your disposal. So that in the third and the 4th and 1 play calling, the second one where Andrews got the ball knocked out, that was just a freak play. But I definitely did. I agree with you. I don't agree with I don't agree with not getting it to Henry twice. That doesn't make any sense on 3rd and short.
Yeah, that's my point, and we've always talked about through the regular season, the time management at the end of the first half. And Harbaugh and Todd, they don't seem to be on the same page or know what they're doing. And right at the end of the half, as you always tell me, it's really questionable about the Ravens. We've got to finish first halves. Luckily we had the ball out of the halftime, Brandon. That's pretty much saved us because we had a score. But other than that, we got to close out these first halves in playoff games coming up. So, that's my point. And my other point is utilizing Henry like you should be, no matter what team you're playing. Now, if we're playing Kansas City or Pittsburgh or Buffalo, when it comes down to it, and you got two third down, and you could give it to Henry, then you better give it to Henry to make a 1 or 2 yard or 3 yard first down. So that's my point to the Ravens fans, is that you better utilize Henry like you should be, right? And don't be doing any trickery in the red zone. Don't be doing anything fancy. Run and pound like the Ravens do.
Yeah, it's nice to see though. We really escaped out of this game because both our number 1 and number 2 receiver could have been out, with Bateman taking that hit, and then Zay shortly after, bone bruise or sprained MCL, I think they said.
Just a sprained knee.
But most likely he will not be playing. Luckily though, Andrews is back in the thick of things, making big plays, and we have Likely at our disposal as well. But That's really all I have to say on this game. Keaton Mitchell had a nice return. The play of the game, the most exciting was Michael Pierce getting the interception. I was wanting him to keep running just to see what would happen. But yeah, a solid win, and we closed the gap on this division. And I kind of predicted this when I saw Pittsburgh's second half of the year. I just didn't believe them when they were sneaking by these games in the first half of the year. And yeah, it's going to be interesting heading into the playoffs, especially if we play them.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say, Brandon, is that we took care of business. We did what we needed to do, and now we sit back and we wait to see who we're going to play, right? No matter who we play, we got to come in the first round of the playoffs in a wild card at home to play like we play.
Yeah. So let's hop into the playoffs real quick. You know, at the time of this recording, it's halftime. Chargers 17, Raiders 10. Kansas City's going to lose. They're down 24-0 at halftime to Denver, so that eliminates Cincinnati. They're out of the picture. They needed both Kansas City and Miami to lose. Mm-hmm. I predict the Chargers to finish it out. We won't know at the time of this recording, but I predict that. So that leaves a matchup with Pittsburgh. Luckily, it's home. And I was talking to you off camera. You know, I preferred the Chargers because they just don't know us as well.
Yeah.
And this eliminates the possibility of the Steelers ending this magical year. That's the last team you want, an inferior team that has less talent. And you know they're going to bring it. And it's one of those games where you look at last night with the Bengals and Steelers, the amount of turnovers just in the first half. Cincinnati recovered 2 fumbles that could have been lost. So, the last time we played Pittsburgh, it was the same way. You know, we recovered 2 fumbles. We got the one at the goal line when Russell fumbled, and then the pick 6 from Marlin. So you gotta take care of the ball against Pittsburgh and put the pressure on them by scoring points because their offense cannot keep up with us.
Yeah.
So let's not make this close, Baltimore.
Yeah, as good as we are, Brandon, I just totally agree. We know from history, we know from watching Ravens ball against the AFC teams that every time we play an AFC team, it's close.
But in division specifically.
In division.
Yeah.
AFC North. I'm sorry. Yeah, in division. So, Brandon, we're going to be on pins and needles. All Ravens fans know that. Whether, you know...
Yeah, you're lying if you say you don't just because we beat them last time. I'm not saying I don't believe in us. I'm just saying, we...
Listen, history is history, and you know when we play any AFC North team, no matter who it is, including Cleveland. Cleveland has beaten us before. So I'm going to tell all the Ravens fans out there, look, this is not the ideal matchup that you want in the wild card.
This could be a primetime game with the NFL because of the rivalry.
Yeah, the rivalry.
I would expect this it might be a night game.
I mean, good thing we have it at home, against Pittsburgh. That's one good thing. But I'm going to tell you, I don't know how you feel, Brandon, but I'm not like sitting back saying, "Oh, this is a gimme." There's no gimme, but I say, I'm relaxed because this is Pittsburgh. Ball bounces their ways, the refs go their ways a lot of times. So
even like when we played Cleveland, we had more penalties against the worst team.
Oh yeah, look at that. I didn't think they had a penalty in Cleveland the first half until late in the first half.
We don't even get the calls in our home stadium.
And by the way, we didn't mention this, but the Ravens got to clean up on their penalties. We had way too many penalties with a team that is not even in it. Okay, so I am nervous, Brandon, but I'm optimistic. I'm excited, to go into it.
I would say like. I'm confident. I'm about 80% confident that 80-20. But I just know, like, okay, George Pickens had a bad game against Cincinnati. But knowing our luck, he'll show out against us. Yeah. So it's things like that. And it's like, I just hope that the Ravens don't take this team for granted because they're on a 4-game losing streak. This is still Pittsburgh, and this is going to be a brutal game. And I don't know how much more motivation you need to eliminate
I mean,
your rival. I don't know how many times we played Steelers in the playoffs, to be honest with you. I feel like it's not that common in the playoffs. Specifically.
I don't know the stats on that.
I could look it up, but
I think we have
this is a lot of motivation for this team.
Well, you know what? As always, Ravens fans, it's going to come down to how Lamar plays, right? And if he is the Lamar we know, because we all know that Ravens is a better team than Pittsburgh. We just know it, right? But the ball bounces their way. History bounces their way. So you're always on edge, right?
I looked it up. We've met 4 times, right?
Yeah.
And the Steelers are 3-1 against us.
3-1. So look at that. Right then and there. Thanks for looking that up, Brandon. Because they have the edge. They have the edge. So,
this is supposed to be our redemption year after last year.
Yeah.
Don't take any team, even if the Raiders come back and somehow beat the Chargers, even if it's the Chargers.
And look, we lost at home with Kansas City, so what's home field advantage, right? So
hey, we lost to the Raiders at home. So I'm just saying, home field, I'm more optimistic because we're home.
I love it. I like it.
But I'm just saying, what I'm afraid of is a slow start or a turnover.
Yeah.
And we just get discombobulated. Yeah. We've seen that in the past in playoff games.
Especially in the beginning of the game.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
Especially in the beginning. Not late in the game, but early in the game. And it takes us out. And Todd, this is where I'm nervous, Brandon. I am very nervous as Todd. He's not reliable in play calling. And I told you on this podcast, I wanted to focus on Todd because now we're going into the playoffs. And Todd messed us over last year by not going to the game plan for the Ravens ball and running the ball. So now that we have Henry, he better to me stick to the run game, stick to our identity, stick to Ravens ball, stick to what the Ravens actually know, and we'll be okay.
Yeah,
but
I think that the key is a hot start. You cannot start slow, and you have to finish going into half with momentum. I felt like too many times throughout the year, and even in past years, we lose momentum going into half.
And we can't
and that gives the other team a spark, a glimpse of optimism that they can come back and
we can't play conservative against Pittsburgh. We've got their defense is not that good. We need to go ahead and do our offensive thing that we've done all year.
And this is why I worry with Zay being out. Because I look at Cincinnati last night. They were killing their secondary. With now, we don't have a Jamar Chase. But their secondary has always been vulnerable. Even in the Palomalu, Ryan Clark days when they had Ike Taylor, I believe his name is. So with Zay being out, I'm like, dog.
Is Zay
most likely. I'm not saying it's doubtful that he's but there's a small chance that he might play.
That is huge to have Zay out. Even when he was out with Cleveland, you could see the difference in the team.
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
So
because Lamar doesn't have that connection with guys like Tylen and Devontae.
So now that it looks to me, Brandon, just talking off the top of our heads, is like the tight ends are going to be critical. It's going to be critical.
That's why I mentioned Likely Andrews.
Yeah, Likely and Andrews
Bateman are going to have a huge game.
Yeah, and yeah.
Especially if we can't, to your point, if we can't get the run game going. Because it's hard to run on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Even though Henry had a huge game last time, I think he was really motivated because his performance in the first matchup with fumbling, we couldn't get anything
But
going.
I don't know how you feel, but Pittsburgh is vulnerable in the middle of the field, just like we are. So
passing, yes.
Passing,
but
passing.
I'm saying, if we can't get because they're good against the run like us.
Yeah.
So we got to get that run game going.
Oh, yeah.
Because with Zay out, right, and your options now are more limited in the passing game.
But this is where Todd, don't dismantle the run. Don't discard the run after a while. Even if Henry comes out to a slow start like he did with Cleveland, keep running the ball, Todd. That's our identity, and keep doing it. And
eventually, it's going to break. And even in this game, yes, it is Cleveland, but he broke that last one. Yeah, last touchdown.
He gets better and better as time as the game goes on. So this is what I'm afraid of with Todd. I gotta admit, Brandon, my biggest fear is not our team. It's our coaches, to be honest with you, when we get into the playoffs.
I also think, too, outside of Todd, and I get your point. You've honed it in to a T. I think it's especially in an division game, we gotta button up the penalties because it's gonna be killer if we have big plays that are negated for holding calls
and pass interference,
ineligible man-town field,
or pass interference.
Yeah, I'm saying on offense specifically, though. like holding is a big thing
Yeah.
with this team.
Yeah.
And you just make the game even harder when you're shooting yourself in the foot at the same time. So
we didn't mention
it's
any.
tough to do that because these games are always so much more physical.
And we didn't mention that the weakest link here, and I'm gonna say it, is Brandon Stevens, and everybody knows it. All teams know it. Commentators know it as they're calling the plays. That's bad news for the Ravens. So they need to do something to help Brandon. Okay, hey Brandon, you need help. They need to put him, in the slot more. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'll tell you this: all teams know that he is the vulnerable spot in the Ravens' defense.
A lot of our supporters are messaging us and always are like, just put him at safety, because obviously he's never turning his head to make a play on the ball. So at safety, you can see the whole field. But my thing is this, and this is one of my gripes with Baltimore, is we pick up these in-season players and we never utilize them. Last year with Dalvin Cook, when we had all the injuries to our running backs and we barely utilized him in the playoffs, 6 total carries in the championship game. This year we had the whole Deontay Johnson debacle. He's off the team. We pick up White, and I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to see a lot less of Brandon Stevens when we picked up Tre'Davious White. And that's not the case. Stevens is out there still taking majority of the snaps.
And going one-on-one, which is unbelievable to me at this point in the season. So, yeah, and you just can't switch somebody from a corner to a safety like that in midseason or regular season. So, I don't know what the answer is. We say this game after game. It's been the last 3 games we talked about Brandon Stevens, and everybody knows it's not us. It's not us, Brandon.
And that's where you need the help of your safeties over top. To really help on that side with Ardarius or Kyle Hamilton.
I've seen Kyle help him out, but in a lot of cases when Kyle is blitzing, he's one-on-one, right? Yeah. So that I think that's the answer for Todd is like, okay. Not Todd. Zach Orr. The answer is okay. Have Kyle go ahead and blitz and go one-on-one, hoping that he disrupts. Kyle disrupts the play, but Brandon is getting beat too many times. And
I will say you don't see Kyle blitzing as much as you did in the beginning of the year, but yeah, I just feel like it's tough because the corners now, they don't follow the number one guy on either side of the ball like they do back in the day.
Yeah, you
get offenses purposely putting their best receiver on Brandon Stevens because they just stay on their side of the field. The corner is not following him like a box and one in basketball. And that's where I worry. Because I don't want to see him on Pickens majority of this game. I'd rather see Nate Wiggins on Pickens. And another thing, if it is end up being Pittsburgh, I will say their second best option, arguably their first, really, Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, over the middle of the field. Now, he dropped that ball on 4th down, which iced the game for Cincinnati, but Russell likes Freiermuth a lot, just like Lamar likes Mark Andrews. So if you can eliminate that middle of the field, as you say, our Swiss cheese in the middle, you really limit their offense. So Pat Freiermuth is a sleeper, Ravens fans, to really have a big game.
Well, if we end up playing Pittsburgh, I'll say this, is that the key to beating them is getting pressure on Russell. And once you get, he's a whole different quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't move as much as he used to.
Yeah, he's not mobile like he used to be, in his younger years. So if you get pressure on him, of course, everybody's, any quarterback gets, but especially him, because he's getting older. So he's not that mobile. And, so if you can get pressure on him, he can't be as accurate because he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. So what I'm saying is get pressure on him, get him off his spot, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's interesting to me, Brandon, about Ravens, which puts a smile on my face when you're talking about Lamar. When he gets off his spot, when he's running, when he's still accurate. He still can be accurate. It's like Patrick Mahomes. You say, what the heck?
Yeah.
But when you get these other above average quarterbacks or great quarterbacks like Russell, when you get him off his spot, he is nowhere near a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. So that's all I have to say, on this podcast in terms of the quarterback play, is that I'm happy to have Lamar, and he can do things that no other quarterback can do. We should beat Pittsburgh, but I am nervous. I'm very nervous, always nervous when it comes to Pittsburgh, with the ball bouncing their way with the refs calling their plays.
Yeah, I
whether
just
home
think,
or not.
I think the big thing with Pittsburgh is they try Russell right now, and this is the last point I'll make, is he's really a game manager at this state of his career, and what opens it up for them is the run game, is getting 4 or 5 yards so they don't have to deal with 3rd and long. And so stuffing Najee Harris, stuffing Jalen Warren, Jalen Warren to them is our Justice Hill, is our Keaton Mitchell. So Najee's the bruiser, Warren is the speedster that's explosive right out of the gate. Stuffing those two and forcing Russell to make a play, I think, is the key, because Russell's not the same quarterback. And their big plays are those lollipop balls down the sideline, but I'm okay. I mean, that's
as long as it's not passing.
That's a low percentage chance. Yeah. But if we can really hone up that middle of the field and take Pat Freiermuth out, which is his safety valve, I think we have a very good chance of winning this game. But Lamar, as you said, he's got to be the one to carry us. We got to be explosive out of the gate, and he's got to be on point from beginning to end.
Yeah, my last comment is, what's so scary about playing Pittsburgh in the wild card, if that happens to come to fruition, is they're just like us. As you just said, our teams are so identical with the play, with the players on the field. So that's what makes them scary. I do feel that we have the better team, the better talent. But however, it all depends on how the ball bounces, and they know us so well. As you always tell me, Brandon, they know us so well, and that's what it comes down to, coaching. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes, when you're looking at the football, you look at the players, but I'm going to say I never really thought coaching was so, important. But when I see division teams, they see each other all the time. So coaching does matter in a game like this. So let's see.
For me, I don't even have to see in division games. I just look at, you compare the NFL to the NBA. Coaching is the biggest change in those sports, because NBA, okay, you got LeBron in his prime or whoever, go out and do your thing.
Right.
Coaching is, the football is very different.
Yeah, and basketball,
it's too complex.
It's 5 starters. Let's say 5 to 7 starters, right?
It's just way too complex and involves a lot more film study. So coaching is important.
And time management is so important in football.
And it looks like we're gonna play Pittsburgh, because LA,
what is it?
LA's on the Raiders 9-yard line. They're about to score most likely 17-10 with 10:48 in the third. So they're probably gonna go up 24-10. You can wrap it up. So. This is going to be a doozy, playing Pittsburgh most likely. I never would have imagined, at the start of the year.
A season that we would end up playing Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It didn't seem possible, right? But it is.
It wasn't going to be had they just won, I don't know, 1 or 2 games, but they went on this skid. Yeah. And they just kept falling.
Yeah.
While we were rising up.
And this is what, when you look at it, Brandon, with the Chiefs, and you see how they won those very rare, narrow games. And now look at the position they're in with a bye as usual. Almost 3 weeks to rest. It's crazy, right? Because if we had won some of those games we had done, we would have been in a position.
We would have never finished 15.
No. But I'm just saying, in ranking wise, right?
Probably the 2 seed most likely. Yeah. But last point I'll make is that, like I said, you don't have any. What more motivation do you need? This is the team that you hate, you despise. We have history with them. Go out there and beat them to a pulp. They are already, their morale is down.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati, if they had won that, they would be, kind of more upbeat heading into this game.
Yeah.
So this team should have no confidence in beating us. So Baltimore, go out there and kill them. And
my biggest concern is Zay Flowers, our premier receiver. If he's not playing, then all bets are off. It's very scary. But if
Lamar, like ever since his mother said to just run,
right.
If he's that aggressive, right, and doesn't try to win a certain type of way by just I want to be a quarterback and only throw.
Maybe we win by running.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
because his legs are another weapon.
Exactly.
That can make up for an injury to Zay Flowers. So if he's aggressive and I'm seeing him run all over the place, because you can't sit back there when you got T.J. Watt.
And I was going to say, if you can keep T.J. Watt in check on the right side, right, of our offense, then you got to have a chance.
Quick.
You got to get it off quick, and make quick decisions, Lamar. Either pass or run. Yeah. And I say in this game, Brandon, is this short passes. Don't try to get the big ball, the big run, or the big ball home run is what I wanted to say. I'm sorry, the home run ball. If you just do the dink and dunk,
I think
seriously, if you do dink and dunk on Pittsburgh, you can
we
run down.
We haven't played like that, Dad. You're still stuck in the Tom Brady.
No, I'm just saying, just keep within,
Our
so you don't have
deception
a turnover.
Our deception with the run game is really what opens up things downfield. We have the most separation between Zay and Bateman in the whole league.
But this is where I disagree with you. When you have a Zay out there, yes. But when you don't, then you have to do the tight ends. You have to get the running game going and then pass it in the middle. I disagree with you a little bit on that. I don't want the home run ball.
There's a lot of times where Mark Andrews is wide open. And you go, how the hell did he get so wide open? Well, it's because of all our deceptions and Lamar faking the handoff.
But that's when Zay is out there. When you have that.
We don't. We're so talented. We have so many weapons. Lamar's an added weapon, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, if Bateman can come
We've
up,
blown teams out where Zay has 2 catches.
Yes, if Bateman can do and do what he needs to do, if Zay is out, then I agree with you. I do. But I also say play in control, because this is going to be a game of turnovers. This is going to be a game of who controls the ball, because Pittsburgh and Baltimore never blow each other out. They never do.
I don't want to play scared, though.
I'm not playing scared. I'm playing where you don't have turnovers. Turnovers are going to be the key to this. And when you have turnovers, that's usually the home run balls.
But Lamar's only thrown like 4 picks all year. I mean, he's barely turned the ball over.
All right.
I will say.
All right, don't jinx us. Don't jinx us.
I'm just saying. If they shouldn't just change their whole game plan.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I will say this to you, Brandon. If Zay doesn't play, then Todd has to change the game plan somewhat. Because now Pittsburgh knows that all too well. You don't have that threat down the field. So what do? Okay, maybe another Ravens player, Bateman or somebody, comes up like a Zay and goes down the field for that home run ball, or But other than that will change our game plan.
Yeah, and if he is out, that just means that, you have a week's time to really get on page with a Tylan Wallace. I would prefer Devontae Walker out there. It would have been nice if Deontay, worked well with us, and this is where, okay, you have that safety valve, but that's not the case anymore. So if Zay is out, then he's got to get a rapport up with those other receivers.
Yeah. Agreed.
Going into this game.
Agreed.
But
but it's going to be fun. Listen,
this concludes the regular season.
Yeah.
This is actually, I told my dad this. This is the first year that we've recorded every week. In years prior, some weeks we weren't feeling up to it and we would take off, and then you wouldn't hear from us until the game after. But this year, every week we did it. Whether it was 2 days after the game or a day after, we made it a priority to put out an episode no matter what. And I'm happy about that. And the consistency really paid off. And people tuned in and loved it. And I was, we were getting messages like, where's the episode? The day after the game, we recorded at night, and they're, trying to see it when it's up. So it's nice to see that people like what we have to say, whether you agree or disagree. And I'm really proud of us that we were able to stay consistent, because it's tough. 17 games is not easy to even though we're just talking about the game, but to do this and be consistent and put out the videos, it takes a lot of hard work. So really appreciative of the people that tuned in, whether consistently or just one video.
Yeah. Brandon, I appreciate the fan base and doing that, but I also want to say here's another year, 2024 of our regular season, and I appreciate you, Brandon, because Brandon does all the hard work, all all the heavy pushing he does with the videos and going on Instagram and answering everybody. And so I do appreciate you once again, Brandon. I'm here.
These
So-
last 2 years, I would say, have been the most fun for this podcast. The first year, it was just an experiment. We picked up some traction in the second season, but last year and this year were when I would think you would say we felt the most comfortable, just talking off the cusp and really getting in a groove throughout the week. And it's always fun when the team's very good too.
Yeah, we started with just doing statistics, Brandon, as you know, and then we developed into just talking and interacting as a father and son in a podcast. And I just appreciate all the fans out there that follow us, and can't thank you enough in 2024, going into 2025, and hopefully we are going to talk on this on a Super Bowl Sunday. Who knows? But,
hopefully this is not the end. I truly believe that. And now's the time to make a run. This is what we hoped for last year, and I'm hoping that we can get a Super Bowl while we do this podcast. That would be fantastic.
And I want to thank you, Brandon, for all your hard work doing this podcast and really, doing the heavy lifting, as I said earlier. I really do appreciate it, Brandon. And hey, let's go ahead.
Let's go. Heading into the playoffs, this is it, baby. This is what we all been waiting for. This is the most exciting part of the season. And this is going to be a very exciting playoffs coming up. And let's go make a run. Let's do this, Baltimore. Lamar's going to show everybody, all the haters, all the doubters, that he can get over the hump and he can do it. And we believe he will.
Yep.
No matter what.
I agree.
Matter what. So tune in next week. After the Ravens get a W, I'm stamping it. I'm putting my approval. And we'll be heading into round 2. I am very confident in that. So let's go Ravens. And if it's Pittsburgh, let's punch them in the mouth, baby. Let's end their season for good. All right, tune in next week. This is Ravens Flock Talk.